Let me just apologize for looking like shit right now. I just woke up, so I'm really greasy. I got some need to shave and everything like that. But anyways, I wanted to talk about the election that happened recently in the United States and give my thoughts and perspective on it. Since I recently did a video where I interjected politics with my workout. So before I gave my thoughts, I just want to go over my voting history real quick. I am a registered Democrat. I have voted in Democratic. In almost every election, aside from a few state and local races. In 2000, I voted for Gore, and the choice there was very simple. Bush was a moron. He didn't pass my intelligence litmus test. I voted for Kerry in 2004, Obama in 2008 and 2012, and I also voted for Clinton most recently this year in 2016. Now, out of all of those presidential decisions, 2016 was the only one where I came very, very close to voting Republican, and I wanted to talk about that a little bit. So I mentioned in 2000 where Bush was just a moron, and I also felt that the economy was doing well enough under Bill Clinton that I felt like we should just continue in that path. 2004 was a similar story, except by 2004 I saw what was happening to the Republican Party. They had become a globalist neoconservative party that became more concerned with the well-being of Israel, Mexico, and less concerned about the prosperity of the USA. I just saw them as a globalist party, especially when it comes to issues like trade, foreign policy, like the Middle Eastern policy. The Iraq War was just a total fucking mess, and I just wanted a change of direction there. So I voted for Kerry. He lost. Oh well. So in 2008, that was notable for me because that was the first time where I voted for a president that actually won. So I was really proud about that, and I was glad too because that was when like the neoconservative movement I felt peaked, and I knew that a change was coming in the Republican Party eventually, but I didn't know whether it was going to happen in the next election cycle or in the cycle after that, because I felt that people really were starting to realize that the neoconservative movement was bad for the party, and it was contrary to their message of small government. So what we saw from 2000 to 2012 was big government conservatism, and people were starting to want to change on both sides. So in 2016 we got that change. Donald Trump is someone who I think is actually to the left of Hillary on many issues. I mean, he's someone who's spoken up in favor of raising the minimum wage. I mean, he's a protectionist. He's against like these terrible trade deals, and he was speaking to a lot of issues that really resonated well with me. Things I've thought about, like especially with like these trade agreements like NAFTA and CAFTA. It's like he raised a good point. It's like, why do we only trade with countries that are poor? I mean, it's a trade agreement that just goes one way. We don't have any trade agreements with nations that actually have a potential market for American products. So I felt that because of these trade deals, we were basically becoming a nation of pencil pushers. And I think that message is probably why he won these Rust Belt states like Wisconsin and Michigan. I think he even came close to winning Minnesota. He just lost that narrowly. So Donald Trump is someone who I admired and really was considering voting for president. And ultimately I didn't, though, because there were still a few key concerns that I just couldn't get over. And most of them were relating to social issues because, I have a lot of friends who are gay, lesbian, bisexual, LBGT or whatever you want to call it. I have even a few friends who are Muslim, and I certainly have my qualms with the Islamic religion and everything, but I think just to demonize an entire group of people is just too simplistic and lazy of a solution to the problem. And, I just couldn't, in good faith, vote for Trump and then like look at my friends in the eyes afterwards, because how can I tell them I voted to put you at risk? It was just too much for me, so I ultimately voted for Clinton. And it wasn't just that issue, but it was also his position on environmental policy, because I mean, I don't give a shit what kind of right-wing blogs you've been reading or something. I think when it comes to scientific issues like global warming, we should defer judgment to the experts, and the fact of the matter is the overwhelming scientific consensus is that global warming is real, it is man-made. Now, Donald Trump doesn't have to go about solving that problem the same way that Democrats do. He can find some capitalistic solution to this, some sort of small government solution. That's fine, but he shouldn't just do nothing about it. He shouldn't just ignore it and deny its existence. I mean, that's not going to make the problem go away. That's just going to make the problem worse. However, I got the impression that when he was speaking about social issues and environmental issues, it was just mostly pandering. It was pandering as a means of getting out the conservative vote. Like, Donald Trump is not someone who I think has been very partisan until recent political elections. Like, I remember in an interview he had with Wolf Blitzer where he said in most elections he actually voted Democratic because he agreed with them more on economic issues, and I think that's reflected in his beliefs on trade and also his beliefs on like labor. I mean, he's pro minimum wage. He's against free trade agreements, and I think it's great that he actually became the GOP nominee, because that was basically just a complete repudiation of the neoconservative movement that had dominated GOP politics for over a decade. Right there, it was so dramatic that even neocon stooges like William Kristol were actually supporting Hillary Clinton, and that made me actually less likely to support Hillary Clinton, because, you know, I think we need to have an America First foreign policy. I think that, you know, Israel needs to clean up after their own mess. I mean, you build a nation in the most politically volatile region of the world, you shouldn't expect everyone to bail your fucking ass out. So, ultimately, I voted against Donald Trump, but I am still optimistic about his presidency, and I'm not, like, nearly as melancholic as fellow Democratic voters. I think that, and I hope that he will actually not become just like a stooge, a puppet of Mitch McConnell. He'll actually have the integrity to stand up for what he believes in, and I hope he moves a little bit more towards the center when it comes to social issues, environmental issues, and if he does that, I think he has the potential to be a really unifying president, possibly one of the best presidents we've had since Franklin Delano Roosevelt. And, you know, as far as his personal life goes, you know, I don't really give a shit about that. I mean, look at JFK. He's a guy who was banging Marilyn Monroe on the side. He's a guy who cheated on many women and everything, but he also saved the world during the Cuban Missile Crisis. And ultimately, that's how we judge his legacy, and I think Donald Trump will be held to the same standard. So I'm going to support Donald Trump, and I'm going to wish him the best. And I think that Democrats really shouldn't be too scared, because he's not nearly as conservative as we think he is. And conversely, I think that conservatives shouldn't be so fucking, like, especially social conservatives, shouldn't be so fucking joyous, because, you know, I think you're going to be in for a disappointment. This guy is not as socially conservative as you think he is. I mean, he is not going to ban gay marriage. He's not going to ban abortion or any bullshit like that. I mean, those are the type of issues that only matter in third world cesspools in the Middle East, and I think Donald Trump is above that. He doesn't give a shit about those kind of things. He just said he did as a means of winning your vote. So those are going to be non-issues, I think. Obamacare is going away, which is fine. Obamacare is going to disappear. Millions of people are going to lose their insurance. But, you know, I think that's, I don't think that's necessarily a good thing. I think Obamacare isn't good, but it's better than what we had before, where people were turned down for pre-existing conditions. But it also leaves us with a blank slate to put something better in its place, and hopefully Donald Trump can come up with a bipartisan solution. So, yeah, I just want to give my 2 cents on politics, since I've been asked about it a few times, and just tell you where I stand on the election. I didn't vote for Donald Trump, but I support him now, and, you know, maybe I'll consider voting for him in 2020 if he is a unifying president. All right, take care.